Shesha Loka Provesha Nidrachariyoto Jiva Vibhavari Shesha Aloka Provesha Nidrachariyoto Jiva Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva Nashim Havamana Srimadusudana Brajendra Nandana Shama Putana Gatana Kaita Bashatana Jaya Dasarati Rama Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purantara Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bhora Yeah. Navana Kara Makana Taskara Gopi Jana Vastrahari Brajera Rakala Gopa Vrindapalo Chittahari Vamsidhari Yogendra Bandhana Srinandanandana Brajajana Bhayahari Navina Nirada Rupa Manohara Mohana Vamsi Vihari Yashodanandana Kamsa Nishudhana Nikunjara Sabilasi Kadamba Kanana Rasa Parayana Vrinda Vipina Nivasi Nityananda Vardhana Prema Niketana Pulasharayo Jakakana Gopangana Gana Chitta Vinodana Samasta Guna Gana Dhamma Yamuna Jivana Kili Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora Namashuraras Ko Krishnayas Rako Vachanamana Mohora Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Haribo Nitai Gaur Haribo Jai Jai Prabhupada Jai Srila Prabhupada Gaur Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Daivim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayat Nastaprayeshu Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So this morning I've been asked to speak about Buddhism. Yesterday we went to one place, and although there was a statue of Hanuman, it was beside a Buddhist temple. And today also we're going to a place, I told Vitalisha, which temple is it? Huh? Vibhishan? So it's also in a Buddhist temple, I'm told. The tour guide told me yesterday that it's a place inside a Buddhist temple. So this country is 76% Buddhist. The Sinhalese people, they're Buddhist. So this is a predominantly Buddhist country, so we find a lot of Buddhism here. And of course the Buddhism came from India to here, and from here it went also to Burma, which is now Myanmar, and then came to Thailand, and then you have also Malaysia a little bit, China a little bit, Hong Kong, Taiwan, a lot of Buddhism, Japan, quite a bit of Buddhism. So Southeast Asia, predominantly Buddhist influence, one of the major religious traditions in the world. Although from Chaitanya Charitamrita it said Buddhists should never be seen for devotees. But there are some common features in the Buddhist philosophy which is similar to our own. For example, their understanding of the material world being a place of misery. So we certainly agree to that this material world is a miserable place. One time I asked one Buddhist monk about their beads, because we also have japa beads with 108, and the Buddhists also use beads with 108. So I asked him, I said, what is the significance of the 108 beads in your tradition? He told me, he said, 108 different types of suffering in the material world. Quite different from, we say 108 Upanishads or 108 gopis, but they say 108 different kinds of misery in the material world. So we agree material world's a miserable place, but the Buddhist idea, their concept is to get nirvana, which means to get free from the material existence. But their freedom from the material existence is different from the Vaishnava understanding. They have no concept of a spiritual world, but they do have their own Buddha world. Right? They want their concept is they'll go and become a Buddha. Everyone's goal is to become a Buddha. Now sometimes people think, oh, it's easy to preach to Buddhists. We just explain to them how Buddha is an avatar of Lord Vishnu. And certainly Jayadev Goswami did describe Lord Buddha as being one of the avatars of Vishnu. But a Buddhist person will never accept that. They will say the Buddha is not man and he is not God. He is Buddha. All right? The Buddhist philosophy is based on logic and argument. So you have to be very patient in working with Buddhist people. They have their own ideas. Another time in China, we had this one man, we met this one man. When we first went to China, we brought books. We were distributing books freely to everyone. So one of the books, Zai Hui Lai, the Coming Back, Science of Reincarnation. One man, he got a copy of this book and he just loved it. He said, I want to help you spread this knowledge all over China. You know, it's a simple book. It simply explains we're not the body, we're souls, and we shouldn't want to come back in the material world. Anyway, he really liked that book, and he said, I want to help you. And he did help for some time. He became a Buddhist monk. He's still alive. He's a Buddhist monk in his 90s. So one day he was talking with me, and he asked me, he said, you know, in your tradition, do you have men and women in the spiritual world? Because in Buddhism, everyone's a Buddha. There's no male or female. There's only the Buddha. So how do you manage in Krishna consciousness? You know? If everyone's a Buddha, then there's no thought of, you know, attraction to the other sex. So he said, how does it work in your tradition? So I told him that in Krishna consciousness, in the spiritual world, there are men and there are also women. But there's no sex desire. Everyone is a pure devotee and fully devoted to Lord Krishna. And he said, oh, very interesting. It was quite something totally new to him, you know. So in Buddhism, you would see there, Prabhupada also mentions in the purport there in Chaitanya Charitamrita, because in Madhya Lila chapter 7, we do have an encounter where Lord Chaitanya met with the Buddhists. Lord Chaitanya, of course, was defeating the non-believers, those people who reject the Vedas, those people who are atheistic and like that. Lord Chaitanya would go and he would challenge them. He traveled in South India, and wherever he went, he defeated people with his powerful arguments. So it happened at one point there was some very learned Buddhist master who had many disciples. And they came and they tried to challenge Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Chaitanya thoroughly defeated them. They were somewhat embarrassed and ashamed. Even today, you know, sometimes the Buddhist monks will talk to, we'll have some discussion with them and they'll say, yes, we think in the times of Shankaracharya, the Buddhist monks were not up to the mark. They could not defeat Shankaracharya. So, like that, you know, they try to minimize. They say the Buddhists were not very strong. But you have to understand how much influence Buddhism had in India. That it was so widespread that even Mathura, the birthplace of Lord Krishna, was the Buddhist capital. And if you go to the museum in Mathura, you'll see Buddhas everywhere. All the relics from the past. How the Buddhism was so spread around India. So it was certainly quite remarkable that the preaching and the revival of the Vedic culture brought back the tradition which we know with Varnashram Dharma. Lord Buddha appeared as a reaction to the social system. because of the corruption and degradation of the Brahminical culture. Jayadeva Goswami describes in his Das Avatar Stotra how Lord Buddha came and out of compassion he stopped the slaughtering of the animals. Because before the appearance of Lord Buddha, India had become like a slaughterhouse. Everywhere there was killing of animals in the name of Vedic sacrifice. So Lord Buddha came as a reaction against it. Why was there so much slaughtering of animals? The Brahmanas had become corrupt and they were just encouraging the people in animal sacrifice. And in this way they were making money for themselves. The Brahmins had a high position controlling everyone, and they could go and take charity from everyone. So the Vedic culture had become degraded, and Lord Buddha came and he led the people away from the Vedic culture, and he rejected the Vedas. That's also one reason why we don't celebrate the appearance of Lord Buddha. Although we celebrate the appearance of all the avatars of Lord Vishnu, we do not celebrate Lord Buddha's appearance, because Lord Buddha rejected the Vedic literature. He rejected the holy name. So we cannot worship, we cannot properly honor that kind of teaching. Therefore, although we consider Lord Buddha to be one of the avatars, we don't worship him on his appearance day. We offer our respects, of course. We respect everyone. Anyway, Lord Buddha is teaching what is non-violence. He taught ahimsa philosophy. Prabhupada describes it as a sub-religious principle. It's not the highest principles of religion, just simply non-violence. And Srila Prabhupada explains that without first being humble and giving up false pride, then you cannot be non-violent. So the very first principles are there. Amanitvam adamvitvam, as described in Bhagavad Gita, humility and pridelessness. Then only you can think about being non-violent. However, these kind of moral principles, they are not the highest principle of religion. The highest principle of religion is to develop love for God. And we don't find that concept there within the Buddhist tradition. They're simply thinking about becoming the Buddha. They may worship the Buddha with devotion, but their goal is to become the Buddha. So we always point this out when have any philosophical discussion with people who are Buddhists, that you simply want to become the Buddha. They simply want to become one. That's their highest goal. Generally, they just simply want to be moral, to be a good person, to be situated in the mode of goodness. So that is not transcendental. That is just simply a material position. So there are two schools of Buddhism. There is the Mahayana and the Theravada. Mahayana is a big vehicle, and Theravada is a small vehicle. It's the orthodox system. What we see here in Sri Lanka is mostly Theravada. Little bit of Mahayana is here. Mahayana is more over in Malaysia, Japan. Thailand is Theravada. Like that very orthodox monks And you'll see more men in the Theravada. Mahayana, you see more women. Dalai Lama went to Taiwan a number of years ago now. He was giving a lecture in Taiwan. He was shocked. He said, I have never seen anywhere so many women monks, Buddhist monks. Now, even in China, you can see there are many women also who have embraced the Buddhist monkhood. Anyway, that's Mahayana. Mahayana is a bit more liberal. Theravada, very strict. They will not eat after midday. They can eat only 2 meals a day. Sometimes they will ask you, oh, you are a monk? How many meals do you eat a day? And they will want to know. So, of course, we usually do just eat 2 meals a day. When I became a devotee, I remember we were told no grains after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We would have breakfast, we would have lunch, and in the evening we'd just take a glass of milk. And so Prabhupada trained us very similarly like that, although we're not Buddhists, but that's the culture, Vedic culture. So Theravada Buddhism, they have strict principle, they beg every day, they go out for begging. And their culture is whatever people give them, they should eat. In Thailand is another Buddhist country. So in Thailand you can see the monks every day in the marketplace begging. They have their begging bowl and they just will stand there and people will come and they'll put some things in the bowl for them to eat. And then the monk will recite some prayers, give some blessing to them. So that is their culture. And they say whatever people give, they should eat. And there was another group of Buddhism which came up in Thailand, and they wanted to be vegetarian. So there was a protest from the other Buddhists that you should take whatever people give you. You cannot just simply be vegetarian. And so they went to court and they had a case, and the court ruled in favor that you should follow the other monks, you should eat whatever they give you. So then they said, then we are not Buddhists, then we will be Brahmanas. And they called themselves Brahmanas. And so that's Thailand, you know. In Thailand, everyone has to become a monk. If you don't become a monk, you should join the army. So you have that choice. Either you become a soldier or you should become a monk for some part of time. It's a purifying experience. And it's very common even today. The young men, before marriage, first become a monk. They have a ceremony where they come into the monkhood and they will stay in the monkhood, they'll stay in the temple, they'll go out every day begging. And then after a month or 2 months or 6 months, whatever period they will give up the monkhood and go back to life, get married, and go back, find a job, work. So they have that kind of culture there. I think it's actually quite nice. You know, we should encourage people also come into the Krishna consciousness movement. You know, we like people stay for your whole life, you know. But even they just come and stay for some time, it's a good experience to live in the ashram and to be with devotees all day. So the Theravada people, they only have a few possessions. I think they're allowed five possessions, you see. Everything they have, they should be able to tie it in a little cloth and carry it on their back. Like that, simple. And they beg every day for whatever food they eat. Mahayana, but they eat everything. They're not vegetarian. Even Dalai Lama is not a vegetarian. He said, I'm not vegetarian. You know, people think he's a very great man, saintly man, but he's not vegetarian. Anyway, it's an important principle. And that's why the Lord Buddha came and he stopped the animal slaughter and he got people to follow him. Prabhupada explains at that time people were all atheists because they were killing so many animals and eating so much meat, and they had no thought of God. And so when the Buddha came, they could not understand God, but somehow they were attracted to him and they followed him. And this way he led the people, he tricked the people. So the Buddha came, he led the people away from the Vedas, because the Vedas said you could sacrifice animals. So that was before Kali Yuga. The Vedic sacrifice was going on. Of course, even today, there are temples like Kali temples where they do sacrifice. The Vedas say, on the dark moon night, means once in a month. Once in a month you can kill a goat, an animal like a goat, in front of the goddess Kali. And you tell the goat, I'm killing you, in the future you can kill me. So that's the agreement, right? You want to eat the meat, you're going to kill the animal, next life the animal will come and kill you. So this is the arrangement. Now, and it goes on today. There are many temples around India and in other countries also where you have some goddess worship going on. They will do this thing. And we know in Srimad Bhagavatam at one point they wanted to sacrifice Jadbharat. So that temple is there in Nepal where Jadbharat was going to be sacrificed. And the goddess Kali came alive and cut off the heads of all the dacoits. Anyway, so meat eating is not encouraged. But the monks say, I didn't kill anything, so I can eat. That is the Mahayana. Not Theravada, that's the old school. Modern school Mahayana, they're vegetarian. But they will eat, they can eat any time in the day, they're not so renounced, they don't have to beg, and they can live as they like. And many women are there in the Mahayana, lady monks. So the Buddhist tradition is popular, attracts a lot of people, they think very nice, peaceful. So Lord Chaitanya had to deal with them. In the times of Mahaprabhu, there was a lot of Buddhism. Lord Nityananda's son Virabhadra, he was a very powerful preacher also, and he defeated the Buddhists and converted many Buddhists to Vaishnavism. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we're told about Lord Chaitanya, how this Buddhist master came to him, and Lord Chaitanya totally smashed him, defeated him. And the Buddhist master was quite ashamed that he'd been badly defeated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then the Buddhist master and his disciples, they made a plot to try to disgrace Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They brought a plate of contaminated foodstuffs, and they put it on a big tray with nice dishes, but it was all contaminated foodstuffs. Probably not even vegetarian, I don't know. But anyway, it was all contaminated foodstuffs, and they brought it with the intention of offering it to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But it happened that suddenly a big bird appeared, and the bird picked up the plate, rose up into the sky, and then dropped the plate and dropped all the dishes. And the different dishes all fell on the head of the different disciples of this Buddhist master. And the plate, which was metal, fell on the head of the Buddhist master and cut his head, and he fell unconscious. So when he fell unconscious, all of his disciples, they all ran to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they surrendered to him and they prayed to him, "Oh, please save our master. Our master is he's unconscious. Please bring him back to life." In other words, the disciples of the Buddhist master had all come to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they surrendered to him. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took compassion on them and he told them, "You all have to chant Hare Krishna. Go and chant the Maha Mantra in the ear of your Guru and he will come back to consciousness." So Lord Chaitanya accepted these disciples of the Buddhist monk as his devotees and he told them to chant the Maha Mantra. In other words, he gave them initiation. He gave them all Diksha. So they all went and they all chanted the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And when they all chanted in the ear of the Buddhist master, he came back to consciousness. And he also began to chant the Maha Mantra. So Prabhupada explains, he said, previously they were the disciples of the Buddhist master. But now, because they're telling the Buddhist master to chant Hare Krishna, because they chanted the Maha Mantra in the ears of their master, now they have become the Guru. Because the Guru is the one who gives the holy name to his disciples, to others. So these persons who were initially the students, they became the Guru and they're teaching their master to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. So in this way, Mahaprabhu brought back the Buddhists to Krishna consciousness. Bringing people out of Buddhism to Krishna consciousness, it's not an easy task. In the purport of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada quotes Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, who explains there are 9 principles of Buddhism. You know, things like the material world is false, you know, they say nothing is real, right? Their philosophy is shunyavada. Everything is void, nothingness. So Prabhupada said, take a brick and smash them on the head and tell them it's all void, nothing is real. Their philosophy is not very logical. So anyway, we try to explain what is the nature of the material world. They also say the material world is not real, but at the same time they say there's no creator, it's eternal. They have so many things in their teachings. You can see the Buddhists, they have so many different books, so many things. Every Buddhist master has a different philosophy. You won't find hardly any common teaching among any of them. They will simply speak about the nothingness or the void. That is their ultimate realization, that everything is void. So we try to present Krishna consciousness to them. They like the chanting, but they don't like to take part in the chanting. They enjoy hearing the mantra. Anyway, that you could say that's a good start. Let them hear the mantra. And if they go on hearing, then one day they may also begin to chant. So, Srila Prabhupada, mainly writing about the Buddhism, he said that the teachings of the Buddha was against the Vedic tradition. He rejected the Vedas. And he simply taught non-violence. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we're told that the Buddha appeared in Gaya. I was in Nepal In Nepal, the birthplace of Buddha is said to be Lumpini. There's a place in Nepal, Lumpini, and they say that's where the birthplace of the Buddha is, and they have a special building there. So Srimad Bhagavatam describes that Buddha appeared in Gaya. I don't know if it means he was actually born in Gaya or if he just came there to perform activities. Anyway, there are different Buddhas. And even in the second canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, scheduled incarnations are mentioned. Chapter 7 of the second canto describes about a Buddha and how he, what happened. There were objects flying in outer space and they were killing each other. It said the Buddha appeared and stopped them, got them to stop all the killing. So Jiva Goswami said this is referring to a Buddha from another Kali Yuga. So Buddha from another Kali Yuga is mentioned there in second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And there are many different Buddhas. Which Buddha are we following? Well, the one which is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, the son of Anjaneya. And it's said he appeared in Gaya. Of course, Gaya is a place of where the Buddha is supposed to have achieved self-realization, or where he perfected his meditation. It said the Buddha was born in a royal family, and as a young man, his father tried to protect him from all the material miseries. But then Buddha saw a sick person. And so he asked, what's this? And they said, oh, this person is ill, he has some disease. Then they saw another person who was old. And he asked about this, what's wrong with this person? They said, oh, he's old. And then the Buddha saw a dead person. And he had never seen a dead person before. They said, yeah, persons died. So when he saw these miseries, he saw old age, disease, and death, then he understood he should renounce the world, that this world was not a place for enjoyment. So that's very nice that he had that mood. Of course, the proper way to renounce the material world is to dovetail everything in the service of the Supreme Lord. However, the Buddha's teachings meant for the atheist class of people, to bring them to a higher level of living. The Buddhists also consider that the soul can be destroyed. There's a prominent spiritual master. He just passed away just last year. He had many disciples there in China and in Taiwan, and he was teaching about the soul. And people would say, yeah, the Buddhist, he also teaches about the soul. But their understanding of the soul is different from how we teach about the soul. They teach that the soul can be destroyed. They do not speak about a spiritual energy, which is eternal. But they simply speak about the soul, it's temporary and ultimately can also become nothing. So they have a different idea about the soul. They're not following Bhagavad Gita. They don't follow any of our scriptures. They have their own speculations. So we try to teach. Of course, Shankaracharya, he did it. The Buddha was teaching the absolute truth is zero, everything is zero. And Shankaracharya came along and taught everything is not zero, everything is one. So just a little change. But with that little change, he brought back the Vedas. And he brought back Brahminical culture. The Buddhists had taught everybody is equal. It's all Zero. Everyone is the same. Everyone is equal. But everyone is not equal. We see some people are rich and some are poor. Some people are strong and some are weak. Some people are very educated and others are not. There are many differences among people. We cannot say on the material platform everyone is equal. That is what the Buddha was teaching. That, oh, they thought this is very nice, everyone is the same. No more discrimination. You know, Buddhism is high class and you're Sudra, you're low class. So people felt discriminated against. But the Buddhism comes along and teaches, no, everybody is the same. So they thought, oh, this is better. We want to be all the same. But the result was, everybody sat down and meditated. Nobody did any work anymore. Because everyone's meditating. So nobody's cultivating crops, nobody's feeding the animals. Everything is just being left. And the whole place became overgrown. There was no more production going on. The civilization practically halted. And so Shankaracharya came along and he brought back the Vedas. He defeated the Buddhist arguments and he brought back Brahmins, very austere and renounced, dedicated Brahmanas who could help the people materially and spiritually. And so after Shankaracharya, then the Vaishnava Acharyas come along, and you have Madhvacharya and Ramanujacharya, Nambarka. They're bringing back the Vedic culture and teaching the Varnashram Dharma. So this is the history of India. Buddhism, of course, was driven out of India, entered into the other countries, where the atheism is still prominent. Myanmar, there, many Buddhists are there. And similarly, Thailand also, Buddhist countries. So, they also recognize the Vedic culture. You go to these temples and you will see in Buddhist temples, they have also Shiva, they have Brahma, they have Ganesh. They like these deities. And they know these deities are part of their original culture. But they've forgotten what was the real meaning behind the culture, what was the real goal behind all the Vedas. From Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, Vedanta krit Vedavid evachaham. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. I am the author, I am the compiler of the Vedas. So they like some of these, they like all these different deities, they're attracted to it, but they don't understand what's behind all of this. What is the real goal behind all the Vedic culture? So that is all. Education, and this is of course Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, teaching people. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya recognized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift. He said, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksharta Eka Purusha Purana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Shararadari Kripambudir Yastvam Aham Prapadye. Mahaprabhu came to teach us Vairagya and Vidya, detachment and transcendental knowledge, along with bhakti, along with devotion to the Supreme Lord. He said these things had almost been lost in the course of time, but Mahaprabhu has revived them again. So in this way, we offer our gratitude to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, are there any questions? Yes? Okay, we'll take some questions. We have time?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
10 minutes? Okay.
Thank you so much for the class, Maharaj. I have the chance to visit some temples in Hong Kong, and I was appreciating very much the devotion of the local people going into these temples, and there was a lot of what appears to be demigods, goddess of mercy, the god of earth, the 64 controllers of time. All these things were there, and there were explanations about it, and people were offering incense and all these fruits and items and things like that. So very much this demigod worship seems to be a very important part of the tradition. Is that the case, Maharaj? You explain a little bit about that, the connection with the Vedic culture in terms of demigods, but they don't know what is behind it. But it appears that there's a lot of traditional devotion towards the things. If you can just explain a little bit about it.
Yes, originally the worship was there of the devas, the different demigods, as Prabhu was mentioning, that was there. And then afterwards the Buddhism came in. So the Buddhism came in, and you know, the worship of the other devatas is already there. They don't want to take it out because it was already there, it was already established. So although the Buddhism came in, they didn't take out the worship of the Hindu gods, the Vedic devatas. So they still remain there. And people have a natural devotion. It's just nature of people that people like to devote themselves to something, to do this kind of thing. Everyone has some kind of devotion. Someone's devoted to their dog, someone's devoted to their cat. You know, some people come and worship the deities in the temple, and it's a higher level, of course. But it's that the nature of people to show that love and respect to others. Okay? So, yes? Okay.
Maharaj, there are two concepts as I understand. One is the no soul and the other is not soul. And there seems to be a lot of debate within the Buddhists whether it is no soul, anatta or anatma as they call it, and not soul. Could you highlight the difference?
Not soul. No soul and not soul. Is it you're saying? Yes? Okay. Well, yes, like I said, they all have their own philosophy. Every Buddhist master has a different philosophy. You know, you can go on endless. Some people say like that, there's no soul, anatma, you know, they don't know, and their concept of the soul, not soul, where is the life coming from, how do they explain life, you know? No, combination of chemicals, different atheistic philosophies, where the life came about, and what the soul is. It the soul material? It can be destroyed. I mentioned this. That's generally the understanding. And some people say no soul. Everything is just chemicals only. And so all kinds of feelings and emotions, the feelings you have for your family, and so it's just illusion. Everything is illusion. So this is their philosophy. Their whole system, their whole presentation is based on logic and argument. If there's a soul, they'll say, where is the soul? Has anybody seen the soul? Have you seen the... You haven't seen the soul. How can you say there's a soul? And they say you have to see the soul to know that it's there. So some people will argue like that, and other people will say that if there's a soul, its origin, it gives the energy to the heart, it keeps the heart beating. But ultimately the soul, they have a material concept. It can be destroyed, it can be annihilated. So it's not soul, it's not really, they have no concept of a spiritual existence, really. Some Buddhists, they talk about the void, the nothing, and other Buddhists, they talk about the Buddha world, that everybody's a Buddha. You see, so there are different ideas. For some people, ultimately nothing, just nothing. That is what their conclusion, that you're not real, the world is not real, everything is just illusion. And for other people, they want to go on, become a Buddha, go into the Sila Shajaya, they call it, right? The Western land where everybody is a Buddha. No, like that, there are many variations on this philosophy. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I accept my humble obeisances. Such as many atheist philosophy like Buddha, it actually prevails in Western countries. There are a lot many, and then it is felt that they are doing a lot of human welfare activities. But wherein HHBVVNM mentioned that, what's the point of actually saving the dress of a drowning man? So we, the highest well-being activity, which is giving the Krishna consciousness. But at times we are not able to get the attraction of against such people, such community. So what would be the better, one of the ways to promote higher Krishna consciousness and then also able to, amongst the people who so-called doing a lot of welfare activities in the community?
All right, so yes, you will find that Buddhist people, they do have that nature to, it's part of their culture to do welfare work and to be kind and to help others. And that's part of their way of life, their philosophy, that they should be kind and do everything they can to help other people. So, as I said, that's the mode of goodness. It's on the bodily platform. How can we bring them into Krishna consciousness? Well, we need some mercy. They need mercy. And that mercy really comes from the devotees. If somehow you can make some kind of friendship with people, try to make some friendship with them, of course you have to be careful, because they're very attached to their belief system. They don't give up their beliefs very easily. But if you can encourage them to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, really our most powerful preaching is in chanting the holy name and giving the holy name to people. And if they have the opportunity, if they're willing just to sit and to take part in some kirtan, and if they can begin to chant themselves, then that can really change them. It's in the holy name. And we give also prasadam. Of course, they have their food also, they're maybe vegetarian and whatever. And they say it's offered to Buddha. But particularly the holy name is very powerful. If you can somehow get them to just take part regularly in hearing the holy name and in chanting the holy name, then we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here in his lila with the Buddhas, he got them to chant the Maha Mantra. So giving the holy name is really the initiation to get people into genuine spiritual life, to understand. Arguing with them, it's difficult for them to understand that there is God. It's just very difficult. I've been preaching in countries like Thailand and Taiwan, which are both Buddhist countries. And when we distribute books, people say, "Are you Christian?" They think Christians are the only people who believe in God. And they're surprised. In India, is there also God? They're surprised. People say like that, because they think in India, something else, It's just, they think that Christianity is only a religion with one God. So there is something new to them to know that in India there can also be one God, one supreme being over everyone. So we try to educate people, bring these things into people's awareness. In the UK, when they began teaching Hinduism in the schools, our devotees had a big task to convince the teachers of Hinduism that there was such a thing as a tradition with one God. Because they thought everybody, oh, many gods, Hinduism, many gods. But gradually, our devotees also did some writing and produced books and so on, and started educating people that there is a Vaishnava tradition, there is one Supreme Lord, and we are all His servants. So it's a gradual process. We have to keep preaching and depend also on the mercy. Hare Krishna. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki.
Hare Krishna. Some practical announcements for today. So, all devotees are requested to board their buses as per the allocation which was